Okay, we're all working towards some sort of lifestyle design, I hope, some sort of goals. And to me, it boils down to I just want to live a simpler life. I want things to be slower. But there's only just a few things that really, when you think about it, that we need: food, shelter, clothing, and just heating, cooling, depending on where you're at. There's not much. We can build upon that. And today I want to give you my ideas of what I'm looking towards, what I want to do with my life, how I want to live. But it's a rapid Q&A, so we're just going to kind of jump through them very quickly. Welcome to another edition of Up and In It. I'm your host, Adrian Babishoff, and if you're new here, welcome as well. And if you're wondering what the show is about, it is dedicated to creating a lifestyle design that improves quality of life for Earth and people, exploring alternatives to the daily grind through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life raw. All right, guys, we only need a few things here. What I need from you guys is just some likes or subscribes, or even some comments is even better. If you guys like the show, and only if you like it, go ahead and hit that like button. And God, it feels weird saying that, but I guess I do. I like it and I need it. It'll make my show to keep going on. So anyways, like it if you like it, and let's get on. Rapid fire Q&A. What I want to do. What does a simple life even look like for me? I know what's going to take. It's going to take some money. It takes some strategic planning. And where do I do this? How do I do this? The biggest one, it always comes down to money. So right now the goal is to try to save and get a down payment and figure out where I'm going to live. But first of all, in order to know where, we kind of need to know what and how and why. So I got a couple things for you guys today. Let's jump into them. They're very simple. We're going to start out with food. What I've learned, all of this stuff, these things that I've been studying for years, and I just want to give you guys some things that maybe you can go research. So food, genetics. It's all about genetics, guys, whether it's your animals or it's plants. Why are we trying to keep what wants to keep alive what wants to die, and why are we trying to kill what wants to live? Mr. Mark Shepard. Through genetics, guys, you got to let things cull themselves out. And it takes a while, like nature. Forest just doesn't grow overnight. Some trees will die. There's diseases, there's fires, there's all kinds of things. But these species, each species on the planet, just like ourselves, needs to grow into its own power. And there's encoded information in everything. I think even look at us when you have children, how it's almost like a mini copy of yourself. We're imparting information from our genetics into our kids, and I believe, it is my opinion, that animals and plants do the same. There's some very compelling evidence out there. So I would leave everything up to genetics, which would take time and planning. I have my biodegradable container gardening system going, and I think this could be upscaled to farming. I can grow 5 times as much food as someone would in any space on the ground. And it's, to me, whether this business takes off or goes anywhere, I definitely feel confident at this point that I can grow all my own food, automated, and do it all by myself. I'm very excited about that. Next, I would also love to be in an area where I can forage for plants and animals. And the ocean, to me, is one of the best. It regulates the temperature wherever you're living. In Oregon, for instance, where I lived, I call it teacups. Every canyon that you would drive over would get colder and colder the further you got away from the ocean. The thermal mass of the ocean retains a temperature, and it's always warmer, and there's abundance of life and stuff. I mean, even you could use ocean water to fertilize plants. Not all plants. There is salt in it, but there's something like 96 minerals. It's almost like it's got nutrients, guys. You can remineralize soil using salt water. Interesting stuff. Take a look on the private Facebook page at Up and In It. I got this dude you guys need to hear, man. But keep an eye out there. I'm going to post some stuff extra you ain't going to find on this show. So yeah, water. Have you guys ever heard of cloud nets? Well, it's basically what it sounds like. It's a giant net that actually catches clouds, the moisture in clouds. The little driplets will come down this prefabricated, it's almost like a shade cloth. And it'll go down that. It'll be catched in like a gutter system, which in turn goes to a cistern or a water catchment tank. And you can literally catch the cleanest, freshest water on the planet with zero energy, just using gravity. Awesome. Check it out, cloud nets. Again, here on water, roof catchment. I see so many people doing this. And you guys, there's only one product that I know of that you can drink the water if it has NSF approval. NSF approval is the foundation, the establishment that actually establishes whether something's toxic or not enough for drinking water. And there's very few things out there that have NSF approval when it comes to roofing. And that is, the one is called Silicone, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Sepp Holzer's Spring Terrace. You guys, Sepp Holzer, I believe he's from Austria. This guy is amazing. Google his Sepp Holzer's Spring Terrace. It's spelled S-E-P-P is his first name. Holzer, H-O-L-Z-E-R. Spring Terrace. And this guy made a man-made spring. What the F, people? This guy's just unstoppable. He's a fucking madman. He is badass. And this thing flows all year long, and it doesn't stop. And it's one of the hottest parts of that area where people said it's not going to work, and there's absolutely, from what it said, no water. This guy did it naturally and without any chemicals or artificial use of anything. He used clay and polished stones. Oh yeah, he did use a plastic pipe, I believe, to funnel some of the water out. But hey, check it out. It's one of the things that's blown my mind in 2019. Hygge culture is badass. It's just basically digging ditch inside of in the ground on contour, where the ditch will actually fill up and it'll absorb the water into the ground. It's kind of generalizing it, but you use the ditch that you dug out. You use that and you mound that up with some dead wood matter that acts like a sponge that'll hold nitrogen and nutrients and also moisture. And you can grow trees and plants on top of it, so it's self-feeding and regulating. Hygge culture is spelled H-U-G-E-L-K-U-L-T-U-R. It's revolutionized, I think. It's one of the most exciting things besides Sepp Holzer. Moving on to power. Rapid Q&A here, guys. I'm just giving you guys a couple things. There's so much that I want to say, and I don't have enough time. Solar power. We got hydropower. We have wind power. From my understanding is that solar power, it's like you're prepaying your electric bill like 9 to 15 years in advance. Your solar panels are going to stop giving off so much energy after a while because there's wear and tear. Car batteries only have a lifespan of 5 years. At best, I think that the batteries that you have, even if you got good ones, will need to be replaced within 10 to 12 years at max. That's if they're maintenance. So there's some costs, and batteries are not cheap. Hydropower is loud and obtrusive, and there has to be a lot of flowing water to get it. So I think that limits a lot. Wind power is a pain in the ass because it also needs to be maintained as everything. There's an alternator inside that thing where you got the propeller, right? And you need to get way up there, like 100 feet. Some places maybe not, but definitely you need to go as high as possible where the wind's not obstructed by anything, by trees and cliffs. Imagine climbing that thing in the snow. And I've heard some stories where it was pretty crazy. But one guy I got to get on the show, you guys, claims that he lived in Alaska and he actually seen people using a Tesla coil, which is basically this pole that goes up. There's no moving parts, right? He says the higher the better, the tighter the coil the better. As you get this copper line and you wrap it around 2 copper lines and you wrap it around this pole as tight as possible so it's a coil. Comes down to the bottom, the 2 ends, one goes to positive, one goes to negative. That's it in the batteries. It works off static electricity in the air, no moving parts. He claims that people are heating, cooking, and living their lives in Alaska with these things, and he's personally seen them. He has diagrams and everything. We got to get him on. I think his name's Jason. Okay, yeah, that one's pretty damn exciting. I know. Take a look on the private Facebook group of Up and In It. I just posted this video of these people, and I believe it's in Switzerland, where they don't even have a roof on their house, right? They just made like a living room as a roof because they have a greenhouse that covers their entire home. And it's one of the most bitchin' things I've ever seen. I would love to live in a greenhouse with a house with no roof. Rocket mass heaters, you guys need to check it out. It's basically, there's a guy who claims that he's heated his house on junk mail in a very cold area. Rocket mass heaters like a U. You can imagine if you lit a fire on one end, the fire would start to heat up. If you gave it a little bit of suction or blew on it, it would actually make a centrifugal force where the flame would get attracted more and pulled towards the other end of the U, the other opening, and it would be what it insinuates, a rocket going and just blowing this hot air. You just keep feeding the wood or the junk mail in there and it keeps heating. You can snake this through your home as people do, and it is claimed that the thing that comes out the end is just not even smoke, it's like steam, and very efficient. it's a game changer for heating. Rocket mass heaters. North or south facing your home. One of the things I've heard and I've observed myself too is that all these homes, whether it's in Florida or Kansas or California or Washington or Wyoming, they should be facing different directions for solar passivity, and it's just ridiculous. They're just homes need to be built a different way. But we have the Department of Make You Sad, the Department of Building and Safety, who's regulating everything, and we got to build these homes that aren't even efficient. Yeah, well, if you're in the cold area, you want your house, the whole front of your house facing south. If you're in the hot area like Arizona, you want it facing north. The strategy of trees is really cool. I've said this one in one of my podcasts where you actually could plant trees to shade your house in the summertime, and a strategic species that when the wintertime comes, all the leaves fall off, and then guess what? The light comes in to heat your home. This could act for cooling as well when the wind blows. It could help for evaporation of a man-made lake, where it could, in the summertime, the shade would actually help, and it would stop the wind from blow drying basically the moisture out. So many awesome strategies. So silicone, what I mentioned earlier, not only does silicone have NSF where you can drink the water off the roof, but this also cools your building down. Okay, it reflects the heat. There's all kinds of different types, but you can definitely walk on a silicone roof barefoot in 100 degrees weathers and you won't even burn your skin. Also, another thing is that it's claimed to last very long. There's a reason why they use it for cooking utensils and for body implants. It doesn't corrode like most other things. So there's a good chance that you may never have to have a new roof ever again. And this thing is definitely going to cool your house down and you can drink the water off the top. Very proud to have put these things on, especially near the ocean where we have oxidization of almost everything and chemicals pouring in. And with the silicone things that I've been doing, I got fudge points, I think. Okay, so shelter. I'm looking going, I think the magic number for me, if I was by myself, I think I definitely would live in a van and I'd travel all the United States, but I got a special needs kid and I think I'll always have a dog in my life. And I think the magic number is around no more than 1,000 square feet for a house. My thoughts on yurts, they're made out of vinyl chloride, which smells slightly like chlorine. So you're basically in a plastic, you might as well live in a Ziploc bag. I don't really like them, but I love the structures of them. I love the look and the feel. As far as that circle goes, circulating air is very efficient. But do your research, guys. I'm not sure. Container homes is the next one. And from what I've heard and a lot of research I've done for a couple of hours, a couple of years ago, is that it's just as costly as it is to build stick-built. Why not have a stick-built that looks nice? Shipping container, in some instances, I think, is less corrosive and less susceptible to things like termites, but a lot of work. It's basically a frame. If you imagine the floor and then the four corners, and then the four corners of the roof, the four angles, that's the only thing that's holding that thing together. All the metal on the side is just light corrugated. It's very flexible, so is the roof, and the floor is definitely built to hold weight, but those things there's no integrity there. It's all in just the boxed steel frame. You start cutting holes in that thing, you're making it weak. Definitely thoughts, but I'm not against them, but I do like them. It's like getting Legos and just building a big home. I want to leave you guys here with a guy named Mike Ehler, and I think that's the way he pronounces it, even though it sounds like Ohler from what it's spelt. So his name is Mike, last name is O-E-H-L-E-R. He's also known as the Mole Man. And this guy passed away, I think, like 2-3 years ago, but he gave some wonderful, he wrote books and everything, and he was an amazing man, and he actually built this home for like $500, I think it was, and it lasted, I think, like 25 years, and it's still going. And this is the places where the Department of Make You Sad can't find you. Mike Ehler, definitely, I'll post some stuff on the Facebook group for you guys on him. He is just really awesome old man, and sorry to say that he passed away. So last thing I have is land. How much space? From what I've come to hear is that living completely off the land, about an acre of land per person is about it. I've heard some other people doing some different things, but they're working their asses off. With me, the biodegradable container gardening farming methods to me, I think, is going to change all of that, I hope. Same thing with aquaponics, but I have my troubles with plastics, and I'm trying to get off of them and trying to get things that don't really need much power and maintenance and that are almost completely automated, and I think I have it with the biodegradable container gardening. So again, land, you want south-facing for the photosynthesis, for the amount of land, but also I want to talk about a little bit what I've noticed about sloped. A lot of people look at slope land and flat is more ideal. And if you think about a slope land, the amount of sunlight that you would get, you have to think of plants like a solar panel. When you have layers, such as my biodegradable container gardening, it's built up on racks, so everything's getting sun. But when you would angle, like a solar panel, if you laid it flat on your van or your home, it'll get a certain amount of light and everything. But the moment you tilt it up to aim towards the sun, its efficiency goes up 10 times fold. Now remember what I was telling you guys, that water will find the least path of resistance? And as long as you don't have too steep of a slope where you can build such things as hugelkultur, because what will happen is if you build hugelkultur on a steep slope, it'll actually, the water will accumulate, right? Well, it's turning into mud underneath. What does that mean? Landslide, everything's going to slide over and bury your home or your neighbor. But a land with a bit of a slope, I think, could be planted with trees to hold the moisture intact so it doesn't fall down, and lightly doing terracing and maybe some hugelkultur mounds in there. But I think basically land is cheaper and it's got more sunlight, and yes, it's a little bit more of a pain in the ass, but when if you got such things as the biodegradable container gardening that doesn't need a lot of moving and a lot of access to, I think that that's a win-win situation. You're getting more sunlight, you're getting the land for cheap, and it also has very many more possibilities than a flat land would as far as water retention and photosynthesis. I think you would lose a lot of nutrients with water flow coming down, but I think that there's ways with the terraces that you'd be able to do something. So that's what I got today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. If you do, go down to the Facebook group. Everywhere it's all up and in it. There's things you ain't gonna find on YouTube. There's things that you won't find on the Instagram, which I post every day. I post different stuff all over the place because the platforms are different. And there's, of course, all the podcasts. So if you guys, thank you for being here today, and I hope this message finds you well. And as I always say, don't lose your muchness. Human up. Carry on the fire. Live it, love it, own it, and bone it.